On our last CBS6 Rewind, we followed Jane Fonda to Vietnam and saw the impact her time in North Vietnam had on her appearances here in the capital region. Well, tonight, the same destination, but a very different mission. Our Liz Bishop here tonight with the CBS6 Rewind. Liz.
All right, JT, thank you. In 1966, just a few years after the United States committed thousands of troops to help South Vietnam in its war with the North, WRGB made an enormous commitment of its own, sending its lead news anchor to Southeast Asia so that those waiting anxiously here at home would be reconnected, if only through film, with the ones they loved and hear firsthand the realities of war. And that's my rewind tonight. The Vietnam War, 20 years of vicious combat in the white-hot jungles of a country most Americans knew nothing about. In 1966, WRGB news anchor Ernie Tatro grew tired of reporting on military strategy and battles won when the real story begged to be told.
I was hit with a rifle grenade which exploded on my helmet, and I got shrapnel in the head and a couple pieces in the eye and on my face.
The flesh and blood heroism of the young men from upstate New York.
And I was trying to rescue one of my men that had been hit when I was wounded.
Who braved the inferno-like temperatures.
Well, I left the States, it was 0. When I got here, it was 125 degrees.
The crushing fear of Viet Cong sneak attacks.
When they do start shooting, it's usually hot and heavy.
The debilitating homesickness.
It definitely gets lonely because all you have to do is just think.
And the hopelessness of their mission.
Well, there's no way to really protect ourselves.
Over the 10-plus years of American military involvement in the war in Vietnam, the United States lost more than 58,000 military personnel, primarily young men in their early 20s who came from small towns like ours, with names like Jack and Bobby and Steve, with young families.
I have a child in a hospital back home.
And worried parents.
It's really hard to explain. You're more scared than anything else.
For every 10 soldiers who went on a one-year tour of duty in Southeast Asia during the 60s and 70s, one would return home in a casket.
About 8 o'clock at night, they dropped 40 rounds on us.
For a while, everybody was doing nothing but praying and looking for VC.
Ernie understood the desperation of families to know their boy was all right, so he made it his mission to find out.
Brian, how long have you been here?
About 291 days, maybe about 8 hours.
And his conversations brought relief and pride to those waiting back home, transforming the Vietnam War from a dark game of numbers to a celebration of duty and honor and human spirit.
Although they're shooting at us most of the time, we're pretty hard to hit. We're going kind of fast.
To those deployed to the jungles of Southeast Asia, the tour of duty was a waiting game.
107 days. Everybody keeps track of their days here.
Ernie spent a month in Saigon. He told me years later he too counted the days to this joyful reunion with his own family.
I'm never so glad to say goodbye to a place.
This is Ernie Tatro reporting from Da Nang Air Base, South Vietnam.
Two quick side notes. Although it would be 5 more years before WRGB transitioned to color film, management thought the story was so important that they invested in color film for the assignment. Ernie also told me that he came under fire on the trip and felt completely exposed and vulnerable. It was just a year earlier that Times Union photographer Bernie Kohlenberg was killed on assignment there, the first American journalist to die in action covering the Vietnam War.